Hi, my name is Jeanette Gessler from Box. I'm the Vice President of Box Consulting, Go-to-Market, and Partnerships. Today, we're going to have a lovely conversation about data readiness in getting the AI outcomes that you'd like in the enterprise. And I'm joined today by our lovely panel. Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure, Jeanette. I'm Mike Carlino from Deloitte. I'm a leader within our AI and data practice, focused on unstructured information.
Hi, I'm Shivani Majewski, also from Deloitte Digital. I am a sector leader for our Salesforce practice in the US, leading retail consumer products and travel and hospitality.
And then I'm Nick Reed from Box. I'm a partner architect with our partnerships team.
Well, thank you for joining me today. So we've learned a lot over the past couple of years about data in the enterprise and for customers to get the AI outcomes that they're looking for. We know that data is not clean. We know that it's not tagged properly, governed properly. There aren't proper policies in place. Mike, could I start with you? Could you help us understand what customers need to do to prepare for data readiness?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a big area. We do call it data readiness. When you think of AI, though, you think of all the shiny balls out there that it can just work, but it doesn't. There has to be a foundation. And the foundation includes both structured and unstructured information. A lot of the time when we look at our POCs, it's just focused on a small subset of information. So you have success in those POCs. Making that crossover to production and a scalable solution, that's when you have to think about, okay, the whole corpus of knowledge within your enterprise. That's when it gets tricky. So our approach is really maybe 4 or 5-fold, I'll say. But one is around just definitely the quality of data. And when you think of quality of data, it goes back to some concepts maybe 10, 20 years ago, really. I mean, we think of garbage in, garbage out, GIGO. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, of course.
Probably all of us do. And that's so real today. I mean, if AI is going to be reading this information, it has to be quality information and on a large scale, on a scalable platform. So we also have another term that we used to use a long time ago, which was ROT, R-O-T. R-O-T stands for redundant, obsolete, trivial.
Yes.
And when you think of today, people use it as knowledge rot. They've coined the term. It's the same thing. And when we talk about knowledge rot, and you think of unstructured information, it's a little bit different than structured. The way that it exists, it has a whole life to its own. If you think of one document, and if you are in an enterprise and you want to send that document to a whole bunch of people, well, you could do it a couple ways. One is to create a link to the source document, which is the way you're supposed to do it. But quite often that doesn't happen, right? You do an attachment and it goes out to maybe 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. That's a problem.
And then forwarded.
And forwarded, and then he's going to make the changes. That's when you get into issues. Now, AI can look at it and say, okay, well, maybe the version that is the most out there within the enterprise, that's the right version. Is it? Don't know. Maybe it's the records, the one that's being held by the records manager, or legal has the real version, or somebody in the business has a real version. That's where there has to be some governance around it. And that's where we get into understanding what's out there. You know, ROT within the enterprise represents 40 to 50% of all information.
Wow.
That's a lot, right? And if we think of unstructured information within the enterprise is 80% of all information, then you're getting into like a really large amount of information that has to be sifted out. And then when you do that, then you're left with a good piece of workable information. But then we get into the other aspects of it. It's not just about cleaning it up, right? It's about making sure that the people that have access to that content should have, and the people that shouldn't have shouldn't.
Yes.
So when you're getting into agentic, can become like what's agentic doing with it? Are they grabbing the stuff they are allowed to? Are they grabbing people's salaries? Are they grabbing personal, private information? All of that needs to be considered. And when you unravel the onion, if you will, or take away the layers, you approach it from that perspective, from a governance perspective. Perhaps there's legal holds on this information.
Right.
Maybe there's records management disposition rules around it. We get into the whole aspect of that. And then we've talked about, well, where does this information go from an integration perspective, an interoperability perspective, and how does it get matched up with structured information or other unstructured information within a knowledge graph, or now we're talking about graphs for graph rags. So having a common ontology that both structured and unstructured can talk to, that becomes another layer of cleaning up our foundation. So there's a lot to it. We've only scratched the surface, most of our clients.
So you're seeing that customers have to spend a lot of time in cleaning up and understanding what data they have and what they're doing with it and how it's being used and what's not needed and what may be trapped prior to making any progress on their actual outcomes of what they're trying to do with AI.
Yeah, and it's not just a one-time snapshot either. These documents have a living, breathing aspect to them. They have a life cycle. So someone might be using it one way, one version, and then all of a sudden through the life cycle, it's being used another way from a few different groups. All of that has to be considered. So there's a lot to it.
Very interesting. I did read the State of AI Readiness, which was just released from Deloitte in January. Super interesting. And I was reading about how most of the AI activity is centered around cost savings and has not yet moved into revenue generation. Shivani, hoping that you could maybe elaborate on what some customers are doing to get data integrated maybe into their other platforms like CRM or and any types of use cases that you could bring that you've seen customers make that transition.
Yeah, I think we have a really great opportunity right now to leverage unstructured data in a way that we've never been able to do in the past. But with that opportunity, I think there's also a great responsibility. So embedding governance is really important into those content workflows so that it's being tracked at every single point to make sure that the right people are looking at the right data and it's not falling into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
I will say if you are integrating with a platform like Salesforce, for instance, that is a CRM that's based on relationships. Now you can access data to sort of arm those agents and those reps with real-time data that they can feel more empowered walking into a situation that they have the latest and greatest. So I think a huge opportunity there. Embedding governance and data quality is a huge piece, as Mike mentioned as well, is your output is only going to be as good as what you put into it, and making sure that your data is clean and structured from that perspective is really, really important. I think there's opportunities more than cost savings. It's enabling, faster deal closures and things like improved client satisfaction based on the fact that they can access the data that they have and they don't have to look for it in multiple places. And that makes everybody go faster and be more efficient. And you're delighting your clients just in a different way.
And I mean, we really see it at Box as well internally. This lovely peanut butter and chocolate combo of unstructured data with structured data. Is it the PO information that I just, quite frankly, when we talk about our customers interacting with these things, is your job to copy paste information out of one form of data and turn it into a tabular format? It's like all of these things can be just powered up to save everyone time to deliver better customer outcomes, how those teams can then get back to the work that they're actually supposed to be doing. The big thing that we'll see is these people are on their crawl, walk, run, fly journeys at Box. Like when we kind of think about how customers want to come in for their first type of thing, what's the adoption curve look like for you guys? What are you guys seeing at Deloitte?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I think the myth is if you build it, they will come, and it doesn't work that way. Integrations can be disruptive. If it's not seamless and adding value right away, you can lose your audience. So I think adoption is extremely important to have that plan and that change management sort of piece figured out before you go into it. And creating awareness and creating excitement around what's coming, I think is a key part of that. So that whole communication plan goes along with that. I also think that a phased approach is really important. So when you're in discovery, you do that phase 0, you're looking at what are the risks that I'm going into? What is my change management plan? What are the 3 top use cases that I want to focus on that will bring a high impact? And then the next phase is sort of building out your pipelines, your integrations, and ensuring that you're focused on those top use cases, so everyone is very focused, and then get real-time data, get a feedback loop going so that you can figure out what's working, what's not, refine it as you go into sort of a pilot, not just a POC, but a true pilot where people can give you insight, and then you go into production. So that is risk adverse. It mitigates the risk to the point where at every phase you can look at it and say, is this really what I want to do, or should we pivot and look at a different use case that's more relevant?
It sounds so much more interesting than just doing another AI
Yeah.
training. And it feels like, I mean, again, it's all about tangibles at the end of the day. It's like getting your hands on with these really awesome new tools.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'd also add, though, you have to do it right. And the risk mitigation is huge, right? So planning out that risk and making sure that you've mitigated all of it. If you have a bad implementation your first time, second time, third time in production, and you've scaled up, you can do a lot of damage. And that's not the way to start these programs.
Absolutely. Well, that leads me to something we've seen a lot in the market, and that's just moving customers out of a pilot phase. So there seemed to be a lot of interest in, we have to do AI, and everybody's kind of trying everything out, which is a compliance issue and governance issue in itself. But now there's like some fatigue, both on the user adoption side, but also on just being ready to move from a POC out to a pilot or out to production. What kind of guidance would you give, or something you've seen to kind of move, be ready to be to production?
Going from POC to pilot to production, I mean, what we've seen is there's just a lot of POCs out there. We've spent the last 2 years doing a lot, creating those shiny objects. Wow, isn't this cool?
Right.
Well, doing it in an isolated way. I'm getting back to the data question too, right? And you might get bored of me saying it, but the foundation of data, it's so important. Well, that's true. It's so important. So like I said, you can do a lot of damage if you take something from a POC, just leveraging a data set that's really small,
Right.
and now scaling it up to production and relying on data, which is literally garbage. You can run into a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So making sure that whatever use case you're starting with, make sure that the relating content, the unstructured, the structured information that ties to that is clean and it's managed and it's governed. So maybe that's the best way to do it is just do it step by step, use case by use case, knowledge graph by knowledge graph, whatever you want to call it. But making sure that whatever it's talking to and relying on is reliable. I think that's really important.
I think in the beginning, companies would take AI and say, I'm already behind. What do? I just need to check the box. Now, I think companies are more focused on the strategy behind it. What is the true outcome you're trying to get out of this? What is the ROI that you're looking for to really sell the case upstream? And so if you build a POC as an accelerator that's already, you're sort of hitting some of those stepping stones along the way, it's easier to get to pilot or production that way.
I mean, it's such a common thing that we see in our customer base. And when I talk to our ecosystem of our customers, the partners they work with, everyone just seems to be demoing for the boardroom. Like, it's not one of these things that is grounded in practicality. And I've loved working with Deloitte because it's bottom up where a lot of these integrations and implementations start is how do we save 15 minutes on getting a PO through a process faster, legal contract reviews. I mean, Mike, I know you've worked for years in the unstructured and structured data worlds. Like, do you guys have any places where you've seen this like go really right now, just out in the world?
Yeah, and if you think of just the different places that we touch within both sectors and within each sector, the businesses, you have inbound content, you have outbound content, and then you have the stuff in between. If you break it out, though, from the inbound part of it, the capture piece, when you think of things like within insurance, which is regulated, right? But there's a lot of back and forth of claims policies and creating policies, and that's a big area. And then when you get into banking, if you're going to do loan origination, or if you're going to do know your customer, things like that, that's a big area too. So on that side, if you look at like what's working really well, the low hanging fruit, it would be the stuff that, again, getting back to the data, and I apologize, but it's very controlled. It's very controlled data. You know you're going to be getting information from your customers, from your clients, and you're going to be looking at it. You know what to expect, what doc types to expect. And using the technology, you can say, okay, based on these doc types, I'm going to be looking for this information within the doc types. You extract the information using the tools, and then you automatically ingest it within these big systems. We're seeing that work the easiest, the best, and we're seeing big savings. And if I give a savings, it might be like, oh, for us, we're expecting 20% or 50%. It's significant, I'll just say that, because it depends on each client. But we're seeing significant savings. On the other side of things, we're seeing, for example, oil and gas, for example, or anyone who's using engineering or assets or manufacturing, that kind of thing. How can we leverage all the documentation around maintaining an asset and making sure that the life of the asset is being predictably managed so that you know when to have maintenance on it. You know that the life of the asset can be extended by that way. And we're seeing a lot of success there too. And what is involved there though is a lot more combining for your question about unstructured and structured, bringing it together, having a common ontology across the board for both structured and unstructured so the two can talk together. And so that when we're talking about all of the data around these pieces of assets within the manufacturing floor or engineering, that you have both the structured data and then you have the documentation around it and everything else, the records, the reports on the unstructured, bringing it all together, one common, I'll call it knowledge graph, whatever you want to call it, and making sure that the two talk together and pulling all that information. Now you have 100% of the information, not just 20% of the information. And we've seen really strong success there too.
Yeah. Especially when I talk to, and we both were kind of in the Salesforce ecosystem together for a while, but it's one of those things that when I talk to any CRO or anyone that cares about the structured data platforms of what their teams are doing, they're not hiring W-2 employees to go push paper around and move these things around. They're hiring them to have great relationships, deliver amazing customer success. So in that world of having the right data to the right people at the right times, I mean, it shows up nowhere better than our Salesforce pieces and like how those systems integrate together. But I'm interested of like where this starts to go in a like what the first types of adoptions look like. And I think that's something that's really interesting to us is like, we've gone through the agent hype cycles. Everyone had an agent, everyone got agent buzzword overload, and getting really back to the practical pieces of how do I just make myself a better service to my customer? How do I make sure that we're delivering better outcomes in our oil and gas processes? How do we make sure that our manufacturing times are hit with the right levels of compliance? All of that is so, so important. And I think as we kind of come off the highs of, again, super hype cycle, buzzword, fever, paid by the time you say AI on a webinar, a call, anything like that, we're really getting into how does the process actually work today?
Yeah, I think integration is a key piece of this, right? It's how you integrate. So with a platform like Salesforce, you don't want to embed the data directly. You want to ensure you're using a connector or an API, which is going to be more secure and it's going to leverage all the governance that you're putting in place to keep it safe. The other pieces, I think, as important as the right data is, it's also the wrong data. It's being able to filter out the wrong data so that you're completely relevant. You're not coming to the table with something that happened 2 years ago. Everything is moving so fast right now. Having that again at your fingertips is really, really important to make sure that you have the latest and greatest in front of you.
And then, I mean, another thing that comes to mind is just, Aaron Levy, our CEO, talks a lot about just trap data. It's just, you don't even know it's there and how to use it. Has that come up for you at all in bringing that into the knowledge graph, as you say?
Yeah, it has. And it's exciting to see because in the past, it was a black box, really. It was nothing that you could access. It was all in there. And how do you know what's in there? And now we're saying, hey, let's create some insights about this stuff and get some real value out of it. We've always called it IP, but we've never been able to put value to it. Now we can. And that's exciting. And we actually had a client who was crying with joy because she found something that she had been searching for I think it was like 2 months. And we found it within a day or actually minutes once the system was put in place. I can't actually say that happens that often, a client of joy, with tears of joy, but that did, and it made my day. So that was great.
B2B SaaS is changing lives.
That's right.
Get that client on stage and let's evangelize the story at an event.
It's like, yes, that's my goal. Our customers cry with joy.
So as much as HS bring to the table, that human empathy is really important. That's what everyone resonates with, I think, and that's what really will build adoption, is when you see the results emotionally on someone, especially on a stage. I think there's nothing that's more compelling than that.
Yeah, and then you get out of the, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job to AI to like, I can do my job so much better and so much more efficiently and get better outcomes. And that's, I think, where we're heading.
But I think you always need humans, right? So that's the balance, is let AI do what AI does best, and then let humans bring the emotions to the table.
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, so true. And it's one of those things like I talk about it as like you're giving pedal assist, or like if you've ever ridden an e-bike, you're giving pedal assist to everyone. Like suddenly you're like, wow, I've got my Lance Armstrong legs. I can really go so much faster. I mean, we talk, and the funny thing is though, like, and you brought up fins and banking. Like I had a conversation with a big tier 1 bank, and we got in there and we were like, oh, this is going to be, they're going to have the most sophisticated processes. And we went in and we asked them like, well, how do you, like, you guys must have this amazing way to do your loan processing piece. And they were like, oh yeah, we offshore it to a team of people, or we had W-2 employees transcribe the data into Salesforce for us. And we were like, what? Like that's how that was the peak of sophistication. They were like, oh yeah, that's because we don't have a way of unlocking that data in a reliable way that allows us to continue to keep that information flow going, that network graph going. And they just couldn't live without it. So for so long, it's just been trapped. And if you believe anything that like our CEO or CTO, Ben or Aaron talk about, if this corpus of data is truly important, the most important thing, kind of like the imperative for a lot of our customers, is getting it to a system that makes sure that it can be as actionable as possible. Those insights are coming out, the process flows are kicking off. And you can get rid of that offshore team or hiring a bunch of W-2 employees to go and like transcribe data, because I think all of those people can be better served doing something more fun, more exciting, more kind of impactful for their customers. Again, getting them to cry tears of joy, like, oh my gosh, the thing that I was looking for is here.
Nick, you bring a good point though, because some of our clients are more mature than others, and so some, for what you just said, it would be like, well, yeah, like modernizing something that already works is great, but for someone else, it's very manual today. So those that maybe are a little bit more ahead on the maturity level, I'd say, here's a great opportunity with new insights that we never had before from this area that we just didn't know what we had. And now we can look at these processes totally different than we ever thought of before. So that is transformational, right? It's not just the quick low-hanging fruit. That's the transformational opportunity that we're seeing more and more. So it really depends where you are on the maturity level, but that's where we hope to be with all our clients, is transformational.
And I think as a consulting firm, it's really important that we meet our clients where they are. Not everyone is ready to go full force or on the AI bandwagon, right? So you have to look at, where are you? What are you looking to do? What is the outcome that you're looking for specifically? And then tailor your approach to that client. And, I think that's where we work alongside Box very well, is coming to the table with a complete solution with that whole perspective in mind.
Yeah. Well, I found this conversation extremely engaging. Thank you so much for participating today. Where could we go to discuss this more?
Oh, I can help there. So we can be found at DC and New York World Tour for Salesforce events. We'll also be at Connections, obviously, in Dreamforce, and other tech events that are coming to a city near you, I guess.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope you gained some valuable insights from this conversation. We'll talk to you again next time.